Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Ladies, understand something. The top end of a woman's weight is 145 pounds. Okay. My mother's 5'9" and she was 145 pounds until she was 50. That's the top end of your weight because there should be about a 40-pound difference between you and men.
Basically, if the guy is rich, what ends up happening is the lawyer contacts the person and be like, hey, you know, your name gonna be all in the paper, so you might as well just settle out of court.
I can recognize talent. Even if I don't agree with the politics, a lot of the politics that was underlying in the show and some of the sentiments he was trying to share, I recognize artistry when an artist is present.
Yes, this is the definition of absolutely cooked. We'll never go back and take a look at her bad decision and take accountability for any of that.
Because there is powerful people in the industry, somehow there is a different law that applies to them. And I agree with that assessment.
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, IG, Instagram, all of them, just all of them. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Y'all already know the energy. We the hardest working on the internet right now, 2025, 4th of July, right around the corner. How's everybody feeling? Let me get this on the screen. Let me get all of this on the screen. I hope all is well. Happy Monday, man. I hope you started your weeks off well. Shout outs to everybody in the building. Shout out to everybody who has been pulling up to the streams, the conversations. You know, these things get intense. Sometimes they're lighthearted, but for the most part, we try to get down to the nitty gritty. Some of y'all not old enough to know what nitty gritty is, but I digress. I got Sydney in the building. I got Rob in the building. I'm gonna bring them up. This is a good one. Shout out to Sid for this, man. She 2 for 2 this week on topics, man. So I had to make sure that we put a little stank on it. You dig? Let me bring Sid and Rob up, and I'm gonna let them introduce themselves just in case y'all new to the channel. Sid, Rob, what's good? What's up?
Yo.
Hello.
What's happening, man? Hi, Sydney.
Hello. How you guys doing?
Good, good.
Like those glasses, my guy.
Right?
These are my brand new favorite.
Oh yeah.
They're cool.
You're gonna see
They
a lot
kind of
of
like have 1920s, but also like futuristic at the same time.
someone at the job said I look like a 70s pimp. I just love glasses, man. I don't wear prescription or nothing like that. These don't have medicine in them. I just like different frames and stuff like that. But salutes, man. How y'all feeling? How was y'all weekends?
Pretty good. My kids were in a bad mood this weekend, so it is what it is. That's life with children. They don't always get along with you, but they're still cute at the end of the day, so it helps. It would be different if I had a roommate at the end of the day, and at the end of the day, they were lying on my couch with just underwear, and they were full adults. Different vibe, you know.
Right. That's always different. You should have a conversation with my uncle. He particularly would have enjoyed to hear how you felt about that. Hey, I mean, you got one in every family, man.
That's for sure.
I got your clip. I ain't got your clip, but I got a clip. I try my best. If I can't use your clip, I try to find something that's close to it.
Yeah.
I think this one does it justice for the length of time that's on it.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first started watching it, I went into the video thinking it was going to be a different thing. And then as they started talking, I was like, okay. All right, now I need to share this. I have to share this. So, yes, I'm excited.
Yeah, they went down a real rabbit hole on that one. I ain't gonna hold you. I wasn't even expecting the detail, but I thought it was just gonna be
everything.
Yeah, everything. So, hey, Rob, man, you got your hands clean, man, because this is a lot, bro. This is a lot.
That's right.
Oh, before we start, I have to share this amazing pair of. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. You gotta love the Trump memes. That's Trump, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then the dude from
Spider-Man.
Oh no, Spider-Man.
I remember him from Spider-Man.
A lot of stuff, but definitely Spider-Man. Yeah, always screaming.
Yeah. All right. So this is what I'm gonna do, man. I'm gonna bring the clip up. I'm gonna let it rock out. Sydney, this is your pride and joy here, so I'll let you kick us off. You know what I'm saying? Let me bring this up here real quick. All right.
You're in a recession. There are indicators everywhere. Bad vibes, rage bait, AI-generated slop content filling our For You feeds. Some may debate whether or not we're actually in a financial recession, but there's more to this than just economic indicators. We're in a romance recession, an empathy recession, a creativity recession, a sincerity recession, a friendship recession, a vibes recession. There's this feeling that you can't say or do things that you used to without being censored, or worse, being called cringe. Everyone around you is busy, stressed, overwhelmed, or generally disengaged from life. The quality of everything has reduced. Products break sooner, food tastes worse. Every app has become flooded with advertisements and negativity. Entry-level jobs requiring years of experience, multiple rounds of interviews, that even if you get through it, you get a lowball offer. Dating apps have killed the traditional ways to find love and romance, and those have been shitified to the point where they are unusable. Any alternatives, like meeting people in the real world, now seem more difficult than ever. With the loss of third spaces and car-centric design of cities in the West, places where people do gather require a substantial purchase to simply exist in public life anytime you leave the house. It feels like you spend $100 or more. We've been told for the past couple of years that the economy is booming. Unemployment is at an all-time low. We have the sum of everything ever known in the palm of our hands. Yet we are tired, lonely, broke. Comment sections online are full of arguments. Even on morally or politically neutral topics, we misunderstand each other. Often deliberately, we are miserable, lonely, and stuck in a recession deeper than just economic. We're in a recession of the heart and mind.
Yeah. So, as you can see, there was a lot in that. But it really struck me because of how accurate it is. And I've noticed it everywhere. People talking about it, even if they can't pinpoint where it's coming from or what it is. So many people around me. I don't think there's anybody that is untouched by it, except maybe people that are living very, very, very traditional lives in far-reaching corners of the world. Most people are feeling this, and I don't even think we culturally, humanly know what this is yet, because we're so far removed from how we should be existing that it's like the thing that we need the most is unrecognizable to us, and we aren't even able to live the life that we should be living. Like putting it in more like scientific terms, through history, as people, we were small grouped individuals. We existed with our family groups. Maybe you'd have uncles, aunts, grandparents, possibly another nearby family, all traveling together, working together. As humans developed and became more capable, when we invented more, we were able to make better shelters. That's when towns started to develop. The families stayed longer, so their families stayed and they had more kids. And then some people might have moved in because they were traveling and were forced to stop, or they liked the area or whatever. And so that's how these cities, these very, very premature cities, were started. It was just communities of people that gradually were growing based on people that stayed there and liked where they were staying. So for generations times 1,000, we have been living in really tight-knit, similarly minded, like focused groups. Like at those time periods, they didn't have anything. There was no doctors, there was no grocery store, there was no I can build this for you, there's no nothing. They were completely reliant on themselves, what they could gather, what they could hunt, what they could find in their region. And if they even wanted to migrate, it would take months and months. There was no transportation and whatnot. So they were 100% reliant on each other. And so there was, unless you were coming across another group that was competing for the same resources, there was no need to fight with each other. There was no need to hate one another. There wasn't even a knowledge really of what else was out there, because their lives, their existence was so small. And most of their interactions were based on telling stories, giving instruction, teaching, passing on knowledge, stuff like that. And again, as I said, we've been living this way thousands and thousands of years. And so now we get to the last 100 years of convenience, when we are no longer reliant on people. We're no longer forced to interact with people. We're no longer we no longer have access to the outdoors in the same way that we used to. We don't have access to self-efficacy in the same way that we used to. We don't actually have freedom. True freedom is being able to literally go out and do whatever you want, and nobody says anything to you. If you want to go out and hunt a bird, you can go out and hunt a bird. If you want to go out and drink from the stream, you can go drink from the stream. We do not actually have true freedom in any country, really, because there are always going to be laws that prevent you from doing things. Granted, a lot of these things are for a purpose. You don't want to be drinking from lakes nowadays, but we technically don't actually have true freedom. And all of the over the past 100 years, and even more so into the past, like I don't think we can ever really pinpoint when exactly the real negative shift was, even though my kind of inkling is it's probably around the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, like 1850s, maybe a bit before that. But it slowly chipped away at our identity, at our sense of purpose, because as you start to replace human capacity with machines, you start to take away the purpose, the value, the need to have a person around. And I think that's what we're getting to now, is we're kind of hitting the peak depersonalization. We have almost removed every need for people. It has replaced us in the S sense. It has removed us in the conversational sense. It has removed us in the sense of telling stories. We have AI generating books now. It's picking and growing and passing out our food. It is doing our jobs. It is driving our cars and our technology. It is running our mind. Like, we are so detached from the world. We functionally have no purpose. And our minds recognize that. Our minds feel it. And because so many people are in this state of disconnection, you're either disconnected and you know it and you feel the disconnection intensely and you find ways to remedy it, or you're still stuck in it and you don't even realize that you're disconnected. You'll still feel it, but you don't know what it's from. And I think a lot more people are still stuck in that state where they're disconnected from everyone and everything because it doesn't actually feel good. We're addicted to it. So it tricks us into making us think it feels good, but it's not. This whole life that they've created for us is meant to be addicting, because if you addict people to things, it is so easy to get their money. You can addict them to shopping, and you can addict them to drink, to food, to being sedentary, not going out anywhere. You can addict them to entertainment. You can addict them to drugs, and you can addict them to being helpless, really. And we're really seeing the culmination of that, where they have pulled out all the stops, and we've gotten to the point where we're technologically able to completely replace the purpose of a human being. I've even I don't know how far they are into this, but I know they've even been trying to replicate a uterus so they can just have babies that way, and they wouldn't even have a need for a woman. I strongly believe that this is on purpose. I don't believe for a second that this is just happenstance. But yeah, this whole plague of everything is really to numb us to what's really going on, to take away our power, to make us feel overwhelmed in a sense of, because if you face one issue, it's easy to take to the streets and be able to like pinpoint, all right, this is what we need to do. This is the business that we don't support. But if it's coming from every direction, what are you supposed to do? Like, we have to take on the food industry. We have to take on the government. We have to take on the technology industry, the entertainment industry, like everything. And I that's why I say I think there's a purpose to that, because it makes us easier to control. When you don't have a handle on what's happening, you'll just give up, and people who give up their power. So I think that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people give up their power right now. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to proceed. And a lot of people are realizing that the life that they thought was the thing that for generations they preached, you go to college, you get a job, then you get a house, then you have a family, and then you have a white picket fence and a dog, and then you retire. They're realizing that was all fake and it was all BS, and they're trying to pull the rug out from under us right now. And yeah, so I honestly hope more people start feeling this and start looking to figure out why they're feeling this way, because that's the beginning of waking up. Everyone saw The Matrix. This is the real life version.
Go ahead, David.
All right, I got you. I'll say this real quick. I think that there's a gift and a curse to having knowledge. I think a lot of history, to me, has shown that knowledge and power, even though that's a cliche term to use, if in the wrong hands, it's going to get abused. That alone, to me, is one of the main factors with this. I agree with everything you said. And like if you were standing in front of a calendar that marked off every event that you can go back to, even from your own experience getting older, and you time stamped and you just watched, you could see how things were one way and then it just started to slowly erode over time. But it didn't look like it was doing that. It looked as if we were advancing. You know, what do they always tell us? We're doing everything to make things better. We're trying to improve upon this. We're trying to make things more convenient for you so that you can get to A and B faster, so that you don't have such a problem obtaining certain licenses and permits and shopping and communicating and getting projects done. We're constantly on the clock 24 hours a day with staff doing everything in their power, sweating, losing sleep, to provide you, the American people or human race in general, something that is going to allow you to have things at your fingertip with a press of a button. And the way that it was promoted and sensationalized, it's like, well, what? Remote control cars, Tonka trucks that you can actually get in and ride around in by battery. You can charge it up. PlayStation, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. What?
Let me tell you right now, those cars, you get like 15 minutes of use out of those stupid batteries. They look so fun, but they do not last that long.
I ain't gonna hold you. I never had one, but I did get to ride around in them, and she's not lying. She's not lying at all. But yeah, I think a lot of people, I don't want to say they started out that way, but it's almost as if some folks got a taste of what it's like to have all of that I can do this, I can do anything, I can make people jump and make people believe, and I control. That control got to the minds of so many people, and over the years you just see it play out. You're not really paying attention to it until you start really actually seeing the effects that is having on children and on adults. I'll yield the mic right there, but absolutely love the way you opened up with your train of thought.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it. Sydney, you're a genius. I had to write these points down, and like I'm gonna start with. I always said I'm glad I was outside before social media. First, I wouldn't have made it because I had a big mouth. So I know I wouldn't post the locations and talk this and talk that, and probably got in even more trouble than I did. And then now I'm addicted to socials. Like I literally, I put my phone down. 2 seconds later, I used to throw it across the room. 2 minutes later, go get it. I'm on one app to the next app. In my head, I got like fantasy money, play money, monopoly money. In my head, I am rich. I have yet to make a check doing anything other than working.
We all know the dance too, that like when you
right. So I'll be bugging like this, and in my head, I'm scrolling through social media, finding solutions and ways that I'm gonna post my content to turn into buys. But again, I guess probably the only thing that I'm not doing that I should do is pay for promotion. But I refuse to do it because I have over 3,000 followers on Instagram. I have over 3,000 followers on Twitter. And how my post doesn't go to those 3,000 people makes me kind of like act in protest. And it's dumb for me because I probably should promote, but I feel like when I post, it should go to those 3,000 people who actively follow me before. Then I could see what I want to do. But back to the topic. Anyone could get a job, but are they happy doing that job? Also, I'm looking at these companies and they claim they bring jobs in, even like the solar farms and all of this. And they're corporate and they're paying just enough to where most people got to work 2 and 3 jobs. And that's like, I know that leads to a lot of unhappiness. And most people, when you ask them, you'll get the cookie cutter. Are you happy here working here? Da, 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 da. And some of them are. I won't take them for granted. But for most people, you'll get that cookie cutter answer like, yeah, well, yeah. Because they probably think about them.
A lot of the people that are happy, though, are the ones that are doing their passions, though.
Yeah.
It's usually not the people that are just like, oh, yeah, I have my 9 to 5 at Target. They're usually not the people that are like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I'm willing to bet a lot of them doing their passion not happy only because a lot of times they're not being reimbursed, and then a lot of times on the other end, they're not being respected. Anytime you work in an environment where they threaten you, if you don't do this and you don't do that, or you can't just do your one job that you signed up for, because that's how it happens for a lot of people too. You sign up, you say, well, I'm coming in to change the world. And then you realize that the work, the job description alone does not entail anything that you came to do, or ties your hands to where you become one with the system. Then I was looking at this post talking about how good 1995 was, and 1995, the Wi-Fi first came out, and the internet and this and that, and AOL came out, and everybody was good, business was booming, and it's like, man, I was in the projects. We were struggling. We didn't have
I was gonna say 95 was super nice because people were just feeding me all the time and playing with me.
That's what I'm saying. Nah, Sydney, I was in the streets a lot of time. We were feeding ourselves, finding ways to feed ourselves, and then go back even further. We definitely couldn't afford one of those toy cars. We couldn't. The most we had was that big wheel. Get busy on that big wheel. But the Corvette and all of that, we could. The Jeep, I always wanted the Jeep. I was always fascinated with that stuff. So I think this stuff has always been going on. When you look at the current state of the union, I guess, with the presidency and all that, I would say his people, because now I don't never just think about him. He's being funded by people, and he's their puppet, right? So I always think of, okay, who is behind him? That's who needs to be weeded out, because he's just the face for this stuff. You can see he can't function. But when you think about that, they just brought those old feelings out. And then the social media amplifies stuff. Y'all right. The PlayStation and all that stopped a lot of people from going outside. But they had the Atari and all of that. They had the video games. But any reason to become antisocial, or the dopamine that scrolling gives you. We was talking about the AI and the robots, people wanting to talk to the robots instead of people. I'm still on the side of, for some of them people, they probably need to. You probably don't need a lot of them outside, but we definitely lost the art of communication. And I'm so happy that I had to do that, even just being in New York, where we had to talk to the different cultures. We had to go in their stores. We had to take the buses around. We had to take the trains around. We had to learn how to communicate versus a landlocked area where they only talk and express what they know. Now, I was still blind though, because I thought New York was the end all tell all, and New Yorkers were the smartest people in the world. But at the same time, I was able to run into different cultures, taste different foods, and speak to different people. So I was lucky in that aspect. And we definitely at a loss now, because even the kids, I like when I'm hanging out with my students and they not scared to play outside. They actually want to go outside, and they take their shoes off. I'll be like, oh, because y'all not afraid. I like to see them eat, because in New York we were scared to eat in front of each other. I like to see them tearing their food up. And somebody said this, that we've gotten so disconnected that we don't even really know how the grass feels. So that takes a level of understanding and a level of care away from us, because we're not grounded anymore, even just wearing, shoes all of the time, to where, kids don't even play in the dirt. And I remember working with some guys in Quincy, to where they said, man, we used to play in the dirt so much that we used to have to take turpentine to get the worms out. I'm like, y'all drink turpentine? They like, yeah, your grandmother or your mother will give you a teaspoon of turpentine and you'll have worms like this coming out. And I said, well, what you do after that? We get back in the mud. And we definitely lost all of those ways to connect. And I kind of don't knock a lot of it too, because we talk about this all the time, and I'm a conspiracy theorist down the rabbit hole. And my wife specifically, she says, if I thought like you all day, I'd go crazy. Like, we can't watch a movie without me pointing out racism. We can't watch a commercial. I can't listen to a song. And she's like, yo, if I really felt like you all day, I would have already lost my mind. I'm surprised, you're not losing, and I'm glad, because I used to hold it in. So I guess people kind of need their outlets, but as long as it's constructive.
One thing that I want to address that follows suit with this is what they've ultimately done is created something that has slowly stripped people away from their identity. And what I mean by that is, if you're confused about what you're trying to do or where you're trying to go, they will publicly create situations for you via social media that will give you alternative ideas. So if you don't have someone in the house that is still grounded, that can really talk to you about, all right, you're not really sure if you want to play basketball or you want to get involved with chess or get into the music scene or whatever, but you're looking at Fox 5 and they're talking about being a police officer or something to that effect, and you don't have someone having a conversation with you about, all right, well, here are some options. You can go this route with being an officer, but let me tell you what they're not telling you. Those conversations don't exist anymore at all. You hand a child a remote control and then you go about your adult life. They've increased taxes. You pay way more for premiums. You get in that one accident and you screwed for 5 years. I mean, everything has drastically just grown to the point to where it's like you saying, man, 3, 4 jobs. You ain't got no choice but to do it. And then you end up miserable, unhappy, or you're trying to keep your sanity while doing what you have to do to provide for yourself if you're single, or and provide for a family. Now, if you're single and you're working 2 and 3, 4 jobs, it's more than likely because you're trying to create something of generational wealth, and you're competing because media and the world has said you have to compete in order to obtain things that God has already promised you.
I know a lot of people also aren't having kids because they don't even think they'll ever be able to afford it. So they're basically planning on not having children, even though they want children, because of the knowledge that they'll probably never be able to get what a child needs.
That, and they don't want to bring them into this mean world. The world mean. You can't. You know what? I have a kid. We have a student. He came from Kenya, and as well as he said Kenya was, he said, I said, I want to go to Kenya. He said, no, you don't. They'll kill you. And he's in the 5th grade, and he said, but the only reason I don't like the American school is because I have to worry about getting killed on my way here. And he fresh out of, and he was, and with the different, background with his parents teaching him. He said, Trump was banned in Kenya, and their supporters are being banned from Kenya. And so he's politically aware where our kids is, they drilling. They just want to drill. So we definitely at a point where it seems lost, but I don't feel like it's all lost because we're here. And what I think that the biggest problem with people who want to change things is that systematically we lack resources, right? Not too many people have the capital to be able to mass produce the things that they want to do, especially when it comes to making change. And then we lack organization. And I know for our culture, still to this day, that's been stripped away from us, from whether it be the media, whether it be redlining, whether it be the bank loans, whether it be the ability to get credit, whether it be the convict leasing, whether it be the welfare breaking the family up. Now it's funny because I see a lot of supporters that they changing over because guess what? They're doing that to them now. And they're going crazy. You taking the Social Security, you cutting that down. You want to take the wealth,
Medicare and SNAP.
Yeah, you want to. So y'all trying to starve people, and these people supported you. You know what I'm saying? But I think that we can't fight it because at the end of the day, we don't have. First of all, like you said, everybody in competition. You got to fend for yourself. Only the strong survive. And then it's so cold to me too because people will look at you and say, "I know it's like that. What are we supposed to do?" And it's like, oh, you got to find some way to boycott something, without it don't have to be violence or nothing, but we got to find a way to at least to where they got it to where people don't even want to speak up no more because now when you speak up, you get ostracized and you become an outcast. And I feel like anybody that had really, no matter the culture, that really, really was changing stuff and developing a positive following, they got X'd out or they got outcasted. Something as simple as the Black Panthers. When we look at the Black Panthers, they not only wiped them out illegally, ostracized them, imprisoned them, shot them dead in the streets, illegally wiretapped their phones, illegally destroyed their families. The Black Panthers did not break the laws. And then they took their whole style with the welfare, the free breakfast, the this and that, These guys and women were uplifting entire communities following the law to the T. And they were disbanded in a way that even when you see them now, it sounds great, but to a certain extent, it's nothing they could do. Nothing.
They were also villainized in the educational literature. I remember it wasn't until high school that I realized that the way that they were framing, because I still remember that in my history book from like 7th or 8th grade, we had a question about whether or not the Black Panthers were good for society, or what, like whether they were legal or not, like whatever they were doing. And they would explain that they used tactics like setting homes on fire and stuff like that. And I always thought it was interesting that was always the focus. And then as I grow older, or as I grew older and started to learn the story, I started to see exactly what a lot of the intellectuals who've been kind of pushed out for speaking out against these things were saying. Because I remember probably through up until you know who was elected for the first time, I think a lot of people didn't believe that the whitewashing and that the history washing was as bad as it was. But then once they started going as much as they've been going, I think that's when people are like, oh, they really are trying to wipe out the truth. They're trying to hide this and pretend that it never happened. And yeah, I was gonna make a second point, but I can't remember. I'll come back to it. Mute.
I hit one mic button and forgot the other one. Something that Rob was saying about lack of organization, that is absolutely a fact. With all our ideas collectively, between you, me, Sydney, Jason, anybody who's been up here, it is absolutely possible to put our minds together, create something, target that specific area, focus on it, and build on it. Because I always say, if I don't know something, one of you going to know something about it that I don't, which is what I love about having these type of discussions, because everybody is not going to know everything. But collectively, if you actually are on the same page and you want similar things in this walk that we have, anything is possible. It's just a matter of people coming together, being humble, leaving your egos and your pride and all of that outside the door. And then when you come in, you come in with fresh eyes and a availability that is unmatched. You good to go. There's plenty of minds out here, plenty of men and women out here that have extensive knowledge on a lot of these things. However, we're scattered. How do you connect with people when you are not making yourself available to get into those spaces? The algorithm is not really favorable to folks who are going against the grain. You know, you literally have to be on their ass every single moment, every day. You can't stop. You have to be consistent. And it's easy to give up when the only thing that you typically will see being highlighted the most is gyrating and negativity constantly 24 hours a day. When I do these uploads and I do these reactions to stuff, it's a variety of things that is like, I'm noticing a pattern. This is what I'm constantly seeing. And then I'll come across maybe two out of a day. I'll come across maybe 2 or 3 positive videos. But for the most part, because like I'm literally at this laptop from morning to evening. So I'm telling you, I see maybe 2 or 3 of them. I'm like, all right, the rest of them is murder, 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 kids getting killed, murder, 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 shoplifting, You name it is there, and it's a reason for it. But I do agree, and I do understand where you're coming from with that. Just reading some comments from different apps, I know that there are other intellectuals out there. It's just, it's taxing. It's very tiresome. It is.
I had some of my voice.
Something that it was kind of goes along with what you're saying. I it was what I want to say earlier. Another thing that really complicates it is because our attention span is so short, it makes it really hard to organize long-term collectively for something. Because, like, for example, I always think back to the early environmental movements in the 60s. People were boycotting products, and they were, I think, and then the other one, the bus boycotts, I think that was almost a full year. It was like 260 or 280 days, something like that. A lot of these were like wars of length of time. We're not going to use this service for as long as it takes. And people these days don't really have that attention span, don't have that even ability, it seems, to handle something like that. I don't know if it's because we're so reliant, or if it's because we ourselves are so weakened by all of the access and what is it? Instant gratification. Since there's so much instant gratification everywhere, it makes it incredibly, incredibly hard now for people to collectively be like, I am not doing this any longer. No more. Like, we saw it with Tesla, but I think it's a lot easier to do something to a luxury good that you don't need than to say, I'm no longer going to be shopping at any grocery stores that support this person. I'm only going to be buying from farmers. Very few people would actually do that. And I think that's part of it. And then the attention span as well, where people will get enraged about an issue. They'll watch this video, they'll get mad, they'll send it to their friends, and then 20 minutes later, they're on the next thing. They're watching a cat video, or they're like, it denatures the fear that we have. And it essentially, part of the problem is that by denaturing fear, it takes out the person's willingness to do something about it. Because if you see something scary and then you ignore it, and then you see something scary again and then you choose to ignore it, that is the beginning of desensitizing yourself to things that are dangerous, violent, whatever. And we are so incredibly desensitized, but that's very dangerous to us, because then we won't notice when it starts happening to us. This is exactly what happened in the 1930s in Germany. They were desensitized over time to, first they started with speech and rhetoric, then they moved it into public appearances and interactions within the public sphere. And then once things started to heat up, that's when they started to go for the more severe methods. And I think we're kind of snowballing in that direction. I pray that it's not going to be that type of event, but they're definitely exerting some form of control on us with these things, because they know that we no longer have a collective, or at least they think, and I'm sincerely hoping that they're wrong, but they think that we don't have the ability for collective action anymore. They think we're so self-segregated, isolated, that we won't be able to get back together. But I don't think that's true. I think they didn't wait long enough. I think there's still quite a number of the population that, there's a huge fraction of the population that is not happy with how things are going, and they're starting to wake up. There's so many people that are realizing, like, I'm switching to dumb phones. I'm not using my smartphone at all. I'm switching to just books. Like, there's so many people out there that I've seen that are starting to technology their lives. I made that up. And there's also a lot of younger generations that absolutely hate watching their parents do that. I have seen videos of children confronting their parents about their phone use and technology use. So it's definitely not something that everyone is blind to. At least we're not to the point that we're not drooling in front of a phone yet. But there is still a pretty substantial sized part of the population that is still dependent on it, in the sense that they can't function without it. I'll end with this funny example I saw on John Oliver, who's talking about AI. They're showing videos of AI generated like animals to older people, and they all thought they were real. They all, like, these gigantic eyes with like sparkles in them. They're like, oh my God, what type of cat is that? I want one. Like, there are still people that are helpless, but it's not hopeless.
No, like, I think, like you said earlier, Sydney, people tired, like people exhausted, right? And they scrabbling. I want most people scrabbling. I just seen a post that said that half of the, more, probably 80, 90% of celebrities is broke. If not, they working for somebody else and they can't enjoy life, as we see with their relationships being exposed. But I think once you get over your hard day's work, taking care of your kids, taking care of your parents, taking care of everything, taking care of your house, getting everything in order, you be tired. And it's not that you don't want to do nothing physically and mentally. A lot of times I feel like you can't do nothing. And you, like I said, you need those little outlets. The guy, I don't know his name, but he organized the Target boycott. And he said he hurt Target, but not enough to put them out of business. But now they're focusing on Dollar General, because they said that there's a Dollar General in just about every minority neighborhood, especially down south, and they employ a lot of minorities, but there's no minorities in the leadership employed at the company. So they're going after them now, and it sounds good, but if Dollar General is the only store you could get to, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the case for a lot of people. And unfortunately, when a lot of people figure out, like I used to talk to my uncle all of the time when I graduated college, and he said, you don't realize you're 10 years in the hole. And I said, well, what you mean I'm 10 years in the hole? I got my master's degree. I'm supposed to be advanced. I'm supposed to be top 10. And he said, no, you don't have nothing. Nobody got a house. We could barely afford our cars. So it's going to take you 10 years just to get on your feet. And I used to think he was crazy, but then I realized it did take about 10 years for me to start saving. And really, it took 10 years for me to break my bad financial habits, because I was struggling for so long. I was like, I gotta have this. I gotta eat this steak. I gotta get this lobster. I gotta get these shoes. What? I mean, I remember going to sleep hungry and not realizing that these days was gonna come. Well, I should have put something away, and then rainy days. And even like you said, Sydney, the houses, that I feel like we need to teach that, because everybody's, you need to get a house. You need to get a house. They don't tell you you're supposed to stay. You get a 30-year loan to be in the house. And they don't tell you you're going to need things like a new roof. They don't tell you your washing machine is going to break down. They don't tell you you're going to need a new paint. To paint the house, you're going to need new carpet. They don't tell you hurricanes is coming and tornadoes and all of that. And a lot of times you don't get insurance. People don't, you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times,
the insurance stuff is a problem of itself.
Yeah, they jerked us when Hurricane Michael came, because they told us that the Hurricane Michael tore our fence in half. And they told us because our fence was not screwed in to the house that we could not get any money for insurance. I had to go in my pocket and purchase a whole new fence. And like you said, the premiums is so high. A lot of times they're like, well, you might as well go get it fixed yourself, because if you pay the premium, that's just going to make things higher. It's going to cost so now we paying all of these companies way more than we'll ever get back from them, and they can red tape you, give you the runaround to where it's not even, just like FEMA did to the people when Hurricane Katrina came. And I think now two things are happening. They made laws, new laws, that stopped us from organizing, especially here in Florida. You can't take the police within 6 feet of them. You cannot protest. You can't block traffic. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't sit in the state buildings no more. You can't. Like, they brought all of these new laws that took us backwards. That even if you wanted to do something, even if you knew how, a lot of time you can't get two people to go in the same direction with you. And then
they want so badly to declare martial law.
Correct. And I'm thinking about George Floyd, right? Okay, he did he had criminal behavior. What a lot of things that one big thing that we miss is that police departments and police in most countries kneel on people's necks. That is a common practice. So even while we protested for a little while, we tore stuff up, woo. If you went around, you're still getting videos of police kneeling on people's necks, because that is a cultural practice that they have been using for years. So at the end of the day, like you said, with the short attention span, we shook something, but we ain't changed the system. And right now, what's happening at the White House is a straight example of lawlessness. Like, this is it's just like, you know what, all out assault on anything. And to be honest, this has never been a democracy anyway. Like, we use these terms. To me, there's no such thing as race. There's ethnicity, there's cultural background, but what is race other than implying that somebody wants your spot? And we know what this country was built for. It was built for them, and nobody was included. You might be included if you want to work for them, but at the end of the day, if you ain't have no money, they ain't want you here. This wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And that's how you see the major cities, they being priced out, they being gentrified. I was in Harlem when the Clintons came. It was the biggest scam, because they gentrified the whole neighborhood. They put a Lamborghini store right there on Lenox Avenue on 125th Street, and we walking by looking at this Lamborghini store. Nobody I know can afford one except the dope ones. Then the people came in and they doubled the rents, because those young people, the engineers and all of that, and the lawyers, they could come in and get right downtown within 20, 30 minutes. So they moved all of my people out and to the Bronx, which is like the biggest hood in the world. And you put all of these people together that's struggling, and then you say, well, they need to pull their bootstraps up and they're lawless. Yeah, what you expect? You got a bunch of starving people in one area trying to get the bite to eat. What you think is gonna happen? You know what I'm saying? And then you got Stockholm syndrome too, which is eating people up, to where, for anybody that may not know, a lot of times people are oppressed. When they get in a position of an oppressor, they begin to take on those views. So if I didn't have any money and I was hired by a guy who can starve people, and I'm finally eating, I might want to starve people too, because I say, well, it's their fault. I got it. I made it. Da 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 da. You know what? I see why this person is starving people. He's not sharing resources and this and that. Da da da. So when they get that, you really can't do nothing with that, because now they have taken the enemy side. So now you got to deal with your own people with that. And then, yeah, I digress. I'm about to go deep.
I was going to add too, people will also, in times of difficulty, like if their country is going through turmoil, people will justify crime more often, because when you're struggling, people are more likely to say, well, I killed him because I needed the food. Well, I killed him because I needed the car, whatever. And so there's a rise of crime during time periods like this, because more people are pushed to the point where they no longer care about other people because they're in survival mode. And once humans enter survival mode, unless you're their children or their parents, they don't care about you. And they'll do whatever it takes to get what they need. And that's 100% one of the big fears with civilization collapse. That's the point where people lose it, essentially.
There's a spirit that is going around, and it's doing the same job that it's been doing since the beginning of time. The shift is obvious. You can see it in people's facial expressions. You can see it in the way they communicate. You can see it in the way they post online. You can see how people are defending and picking and choosing when and where to highlight folly, when and where to shadow ban, when and where to protest. But it's an invisible entity. So nobody really buys into it. It's just a make-believe fairy tale that was man-made. But you don't believe that. But you can believe in a 16-year-old having a gun in his mother's house. His mom's take the gun from him. He's pleading to his mom, I need this gun because my life is in danger outside of this house. You believe more in that than there being a prospect for influence over that scenario taking place in the first place. Like I'm aware. I can understand why prayer is necessary, because prayer is probably the one free thing left that allows you to reach out without people impeding on what your heart really feels. There's no boundaries or no blockades telling you you can't do this, you can't go there, you can't go here, you can't say this, you can't. Nope. You still have the right to release that however you see fit, without police coming to your door or any of that mess. And I don't know if there's one thing, but I believe there's a multitude of different things that has been released on the world that has got us. They got us on antidepressants. They got us in therapy or running away from therapy, running away from help, running away from just pretty much anything that could possibly remove us from strongholds, keeping us depressed. Nobody wants to work 4 and 5 jobs. Nobody's sitting up here trying to slave for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You 60, 70 years old, you don't know what to do with yourself after they done used you up. Your body is done. You get home, you don't have nothing to do. People have died because they didn't have nothing else to do. If they're not married, they're lonely. Their body can't adjust to not having a routine. Like, people are their own worst enemies. It was something I was going to say, but I lost my train of thought. It'll probably come back to me.
Hey, think about this too. A lot of time we don't change till we fed up. Then we change the rules when it happens to us. So a lot of times, well, it ain't happened to me. I don't know nothing about it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. But then when it happened to you, then you're like, oh no, this is a travesty. This got to change. And then something as simple, you'll be tired of overweight till one day you can't do something, or one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you get disgusted, and then it's like, oh no, I'll just let myself go. I gotta get right. Or the doctor tell you, like the doctor told me 3 weeks ago, man, you pre-diabetic. I said, God, dog, I done dodged bullets. I done did this and that, and I'm finna let food kill me? Nah, it's time for the wild rice. I don't really like it, but it's time for the wild rice. It's time to eat some strawberries here. I'm 2 weeks straight. What lowers your blood sugar? Can you get it back to normal? How long does it take? And people are like, oh, yeah, everybody got pre-diabetes, but I'm like, nah, I don't want to go out like that. You know what I'm saying? And I had some people was like, hey, welcome home. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's the stuff they feeding us, and I'm looking every day, and we still force the kids to drink their milk. Well, get their milk. They don't have to drink it, but you got to get the milk. We know the milk is giving people cancer. They eating white bread sandwiches and French fries every other day, and processed hot dogs. And it's like, wait, how can we, you know what I'm saying, say we care, and then as a unit, we look at and we are still feeding these poisons, the Takis, all of this stuff is stepped on now. You can't eat like we talked about last week or the week before, you can't eat the fast food no more. I stopped eating Popeyes when I realized, well, I don't eat it as much, I ain't gonna lie, because I will eat some Popeyes every once in a while. But when I realized they got to put gloves on because the seasoning that they use will burn their skin, and we put that in our, you know what I'm saying? We eat that like every day. And again, you know, it's a little part of being exhausted. It's right there for you. There's food droughts. There's intellectual droughts. We don't read no more. We don't value. We've gotten to a point where we don't value intelligence. You can look at the truth and it does not matter. And then you have the people that say, well, what you want me to do? This is just the way it is. And then you got the religious people. Oh, God don't put no more on you than you could bear. Like, wait, well, from what I'm reading, I read my Bible 3 times. I'm 50% into my Quran. First, they're the same story, so I don't see how Muslims is fighting Christians, because they basically the same story, other than not accepting Jesus as an angel type. You know, he died and came back. They like the same story. And at the end of the day, from what I read, the higher power or whatever, whoever, whenever, wherever, don't want us to be struggling. Like, you can't possibly tell me, I'm reading these books. Everywhere in there, we're not supposed to be struggling. We're not supposed to be depressed. We're not supposed to be unhappy. We're not supposed to be impoverished. As a matter of fact, the Jesus, if you really teach, he spoke against that. He ostracized and ridiculed everybody that oppressed people, everybody that has something to do with people's depression. He was kicking them out and dealing with them the way it's supposed to be done. But we're still look, and even when you look at that, if you know the Bible, they chose Barnabas over him. Barnabas was a criminal. So it's like, yo, wait a minute. Like, we say we know what's up, but at the end of the day, like, our actions are speaking otherwise. And like I said, I'll never sit up here and say I was an angel. The only thing that I can say is that I've changed my behavior. I'm appalled at what I did. And I'll make sure I stay appalled so that I don't repeat those behaviors. And I know that I don't want anyone under me to live like that or make the same mistakes. So I've come to, once I woke up and once I got the right information, once I studied history of the country, once I started studying economics, once I studied how to build my self-esteem and how to love myself, it was like, oh man, you was backwards for so long. Every day I live, I'm gonna see if I can help improve somebody else's well-being. And you get to a point where that's exhausting because a lot of people, they want what you have. They don't want what you have to give them. And so they don't want to do the work it takes. And it's funny right now. A lot of times people say, oh, they would love to be in your shoes. People would love your spot. And then it's like, oh yeah, you think? But if you got in my shoes, you probably wouldn't be able to make it. Same if I got in your shoes, same if I was in your shoes sitting. Somebody might go crazy because they don't understand what you deal with, but they see that you handle it gracefully. Your children are growing, so it's like, oh yeah, I could do what City do. No, you can't. You shouldn't even want to. You know what I'm saying? Like you should want to go on your own path. But right now with the desensitization and all of that and the numbness and like you said, the medications and all that, to a certain extent, you know, people need it. Because I didn't used to, like you said, with the demons and all that, I didn't used to believe in all that. But I've seen some things where, and I used to be, oh, nah, there's no such thing as ADHD, and there's no, there's Ritalin, that doesn't do. And then now I'm looking and I'm agreeing, like, hey, we need our medicine. You know what I'm saying? So these people need their medicine. Unfortunately, a lot of it is poison. But hopefully we can find natural remedies to a lot of this stuff, and that takes going back to the earth.
You should look into Gabor Mate on YouTube. He talks about ADHD and its relationship to trauma. Same with depression. Because what he talks about, a little background with him, both of his parents were killed in Auschwitz. And so he dedicated his life to understanding why people act like that, what makes people treat other human beings in that manner. And so he's studied disorder and trauma and all that stuff. And his theory is that depression is the process of your body checking out and turning inward because everything externally is too much at the moment. And so it's your body, basically in the same way that if you are going and going and going and going and you're really tired, your body is going to drop you to the couch and make you take a nap. Like you can't just keep going and going. And so depression is the same thing, but it's for your mind. It's your brain and your body being like, stop, chill out, think, like, take a break. And ADHD is essentially hypervigilance in a way, where your brain, your body has been so traumatized that it can't settle, that it's not able to release all of these things that it's holding on to because you have not given yourself a chance to process the things that you're stuck on. And with ADHD, it can once you know thinking about the symptoms, it makes a lot of sense because it's distractibility, unable to sit down, unable to focus, unable to fall asleep. It's because your mind is so full, you haven't done the work to release it from everything that's happening that you can't. And ironically, even though there are people that do need medication for a fact, there are individuals that do have an imbalance, that do have a problem that requires medication. But we have also over-medicated people across the board, where people who should not be taking those medications are taking those medications in an effort to numb the feelings that they have. And that's contributing to this sense of disillusionment that we're feeling, is people are being prescribed and are choosing to numb themselves with various sources. And when, just as we see with ADHD, just as we see with depression, just as we see with rage and other things, when you bottle up your emotions, they don't go away. They come out later, and often more forcefully, and usually in inopportune times. So it's a lot more effective, a lot safer, a lot more emotionally stabilizing to allow yourself to have those moments, to release your thoughts, to release your feelings. It sounds so cliche, but it's really important to give ourselves the time to settle, and allow the things that need to percolate to come back out of your body. And I think that's also why this age of everything all the time is so damaging to us, because it does not give us a moment to be quiet, to be silent. Like, people will literally use their phone until it falls on their face in their sleep. They don't give themselves an opportunity to unravel, to think. Like, we're seeing a record low of people writing, of people just reading for the fun of it, of people just sitting and looking out into the sky. Like, we don't have very many people anymore that will look out into the stars and ponder life. Like, people don't do that anymore. They look at their phone and they scroll. And when you're scrolling, there's people say, oh, I'm doing it to unwind. They're not unwinding, because by seeing something, your brain is processing something. You have to have sensory nothing to be able to start processing your emotions. That's why insomnia hits when it's dark and when you've been trying to lie in bed already, because it's your mind trying to unravel, but then you don't give it the chance because you shut it off by either distracting yourself or forcing yourself to go to sleep, or taking medication, or using drugs or something. So we basically are spending our whole lives pushing it down, pushing it down, pushing it out. And then we wonder why we have all of this dysfunctional behavior and disconnection. So unfortunately, a lot of people have to do something that's very difficult, to do nothing. They have to do the hard work, which is really counterintuitive, of like meditating, of thinking, of allowing themselves to exist without the influence of everything else. Because people are thinking they are themselves, but they're really the sum of everything that they're seeing. And if people stripped that away, if you stopped watching social media for even a month, you'd start to realize that half the shit that you put on and wear and use and do is not you. It's the people that you're looking at and what they tell you you should get and what you think is good. So, yeah. But yeah, that was it.
you was cooking. I wanted you to get your bars off. I got a clip I want to share with y'all, because he brought up cancer, and I had this saved because I knew I was either going to do a reaction to it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but since how he brought it up, I figured this would probably be the best time, because I'm going to try this out for myself, because I just want to see. Right? This is one of those, they tried to eliminate him because he was telling secrets that could change the lives of millions of people who might be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on medicines that's making them sicker or keeping them sick. And what he's sharing with you right here is a way to get rid of cancer altogether. And it's just a simple, natural, bada bing, bada boom thing. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you can take it with a grain of salt. I'm curious. I want to see for myself if it's what it is or not. But I'll share my final thoughts alongside this clip. It ain't very long, and yeah, we'll close out from there. But let me bring this up here, and hit the button.
That means toast. And I didn't really know what to do. And I was fortunate that my son, he says, Dad, try looking at pH. Sometimes when you change the pH of your body, things happen. And so what I did, I made up a baking soda molasses water solution. And I'm going to show you how I did that. Right now I'm doing, this is over 2 years later, I'm still alive, and I'm doing on the website, www.phgoescancer.com, I'm doing more or less a tune-up of alkalining my body. So this is the baking soda. I'm right now at the stage of putting 2 teaspoons in. So here's 1 teaspoon, and that's 2 teaspoons. I'm going to add a teaspoon of molasses. Now that's a teaspoon of molasses. This is a soft science. And I'm going to put in about a cup of water. All right? I'm going to stir it. Now this is what I did during my whole protocol, if you'll see on the website. And then I would drink this. You see it going over the floor mark? And that means
that's it. It wasn't really a lot to it.
He made a super duper laxative. I bet it do cure a lot. Probably wipe out every toxin in your body. Finish drinking that. Clean off all the your insides.
I'm at the point to where I see videos like that, and it's like, well, this could be real. You know, they hide everything from us. It's like, based on this entire conversation, they just trying to kill us off and make us miserable and unalive ourselves. And they trying to depopulate the entire world and everything that you can think of. It just sounds like they have a ulterior motive, which is essentially just wicked as hell. And when you get people like that speak on things, I'm prone to listen a little bit more. But anything sounds good with some good music playing in the background. You know, so I think the entire purpose for this discussion was to bring attention to, we need to wake up. Ask yourself why you're miserable, why you're angry, why you got all this heaviness on you, why are you overworked? I watched the Instagram reel. The woman worked 7 days a week. That was her routine. That was her life. And her final words were, "I'm going to take a rest." And then she never woke up. She worked 7 days a week for years. That was just how she was. People are crashing out. You don't know how to love. You don't know how to be friends. Like what the video said initially when we played it earlier. Friendship recession, marriage recession, romance recession. Everything's a recession. And honestly, I see it. I see it. The well is drying up on every front. But what we're gonna do, Sydney? Are we gonna take this information, like you said, leave from here, and then go about our regular jolly old day, back to the same routine that we had before, or are we going to be more proactive and do something different than what we did here? Like this is great. It's amazing that we broke this down the way we did. But what are we going to do with the information now? The discussion has been had. So now it's up to us to make the changes necessary. I don't think a single soul that's watching here wants to walk around heavy. God did not want us to be miserable and heavily burdened and laden. Trial and tribulation is inevitable, but the way that we are constantly getting worked, literally and figuratively, nah. The math is not adding up. So, first and foremost, I want to say shout out to Rob and Sydney, man. Y'all cooked for Monday. Mondays are usually where everybody's energy is probably. I'm still trying to wake. Like for me, I'm just trying to wake up on Monday. Mondays are. It's supposed to create the atmosphere for the entire week. So I think this did that and did then some. I need a phone detox. I ain't gonna hold you. I was picking. I might as well attach this to my arm like a weight and just do barbell little crunches, and that's how much I was going back and forth with it. But so I do need to go on a fast. Maybe I'll do it over the weekend or something. I'm just gonna just stay off of something. I got to give something up. And now I'm gonna try out that little molasses water concoction, see if it make me feel any healthier. I turn the mic over to anybody who wants to plug anything. You want to give any final thoughts? Give you the solo screen and all that.
Go ahead.
You can go first. You can go first.
Oh, I just thinking that I think helping our families get right is one way that you could help stop a little bit of the stuff going on. Because once our families are right, and then we linked in, then we could be able to tap in with each other and help each other to a certain extent. And I think that the best way to help another person is to live by example. Everybody has a little hypocrite inside them, right? And that doesn't bother me. As long as we're not hurting each other and stepping on people's toes to get where we want to be, I think we probably will be all right, because the one thing that we're seeing is, especially with this administration right here, people are coming out the woodworks to get rid of this stuff. And with things like TikTok, with things like X, regardless of who owns it or whatever, the information is coming out to where people are tired and they're moving in a direction to get their communities intact, get themselves intact. So I think with that, we have to get back to nature a little bit, get back to talking to each other, and then most important, ask each other how we feel and see if we can help each other process solutions to the problems that we're having. Because I think we've gotten away from that to where we can look online, but at the same time, the best way to find out how to cure stuff or find solutions is to find out who's going through it and what they found. With like the guy, they gave him so long to live, and he made this concoction. So with you sharing that, Deep, that's a big deal, because the one way that we do get better is by trying. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm gonna do this and that, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then you don't take a step forward to it. You'll never know. You'll sit there and think yourself into paralysis. So I think that we have to get back to each other, have these conversations, and give ourselves time to process, whether that's alone or in groups, to where you actually get time to use the little voice in your head to think of solutions for what's going on. And then once you become that example, you will be able to help others.
First off, I wanted to say that if you're feeling this way, one of the best things I can suggest is to do a phone detox, is to remove yourself in some way. Like, you have to give yourself, as I said earlier, sensory nothingness. So you can't be listening to things, you can't be seeing things. Like, my favorite thing to do is to lie down in like a dark closet, just like lying down on the floor, so there's no light, and you're just staring at the ceiling. And it's better to have your eyes open. That way you don't fall asleep on yourself. But it's important to give your body a time to process things that are happening within it. And sleep is an opportunity to do so, but it also needs conscious time to do so. That's why walks are so refreshing. Long drives without music or other people can be really nice. But you really want to become acquainted with your thoughts. I think it's called The Red Door. I will bring it up next time, but there's this fantastic book on going through your mind for the first time and discovering yourself through your mind, because a lot of people like to circumvent the types of difficult thoughts that you have, but confronting them is the best thing that you can do because it allows you to actually process them correctly. That's exactly what PTSD is. It's you not processing your the events you went through correctly, and so your mind is trying to bring them back to you in fragments. So there's that, and then also start interacting with people. Start, and I mean face to face, like in person, face to face. Have conversations and be blunt. I heard this on a video earlier, and I really love this piece of advice. We are now at the point in society where we have to be blunt with each other. We have to be honest about how we really feel. We have to be honest about who we are and honest about everything about us, because we are in such a manufactured world where we're promoting masks and fake identities and your identity online versus the identity you show in person versus the one that you show to these friends versus the family one. Like we don't act ourselves regularly in front of anybody. And it's time that we start figuring out what is our actual self and show it to people unapologetically. Dress the way that you want, put the hair up in the way that you want, wear the perfume that you want, like do the things that make you happy, not for the other people around you. Because when you live your life for everyone else, eventually it's going to come back and bite you. You're eventually going to get to the point where you're going to be so upset with yourself, so sick of yourself, that you're going to have some sort of breakdown to re-find who you are. And I've gone through it myself. It's very difficult. It can be very traumatic if you're not expecting it, and if it causes you to lose relationships or completely ditch a part of your life, even if you didn't really want to. So yeah, it's really important to nip it in the bud before it gets bad, because whether you like it to believe it or not, you can't ignore it. You can't push it aside. You can't make it go away. The only way to make it go away is to go through it. And I wanted to end with a short poem that I kept thinking of while we were doing this this topic. It's called Too Much Everything. Buy me, click me, fix me, sew me, pay me, call me, send me, save me. Letters, notes, bells and dots, heads too full of empty thoughts. More news, more chats, more stores, more hats. Go here, go there, information everywhere. Advertisement, clickbait ads, way too much for brains to have. Anxious feelings keep you up, all the stressors won't shut up. Swirling patterns through the night, brighter than the sun's first light. Dollar tanking, ice cap shrank, children starving, rich make bank. Threats of violence, corporate giants. How does one expect to sleep when we all live as helpless sheep?
Hey, y'all other podcasts, don't start fighting.
Real spill.
For real.
Shout outs, man. Hey, appreciate everybody for tapping in with us this Monday evening. Everybody that's watching, Sydney, Rob, man, much love. Always a pleasure to have you up here. We spinning back tomorrow, same time, same place. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already following. Thank you to everybody who has been pulling up to the YouTube channel. we are growing. Our voice is getting out there, man, and we just want to keep on pushing, man. Despite all the negativity, all the conjuring, all that, we still gonna give glory and praise to the Creator for everything that we got. So, man, y'all drive safe. Y'all have a blessed week, blessed Tuesday. Don't be so impatient on the road. Do me a solid too before you leave.
What's the goddamn button?
You dig?
You heard.
We up out of here, man.
Cut it out.
Yay.